So, that she gets a lot, that puppy gets a lot of votes.
More than
the sexy cow does not get the votes I think she is deserving of.
For our listeners, go to the Graham third floor. You turn the corner, vote sexy cow. Please, please, please.
I
Do
know.
it for me.
It would be amazing to see her win one of these days.
Oh my gosh.
But okay, that's a perfect example of
Where do we find the results?
Well, what you do is you take a chip and you actually place the chip
Physically
in,
vote.
and so you can see where they're filling up. And often it's the puppy. Sometimes there's this little delicate moth that is on a still life. She gets a lot of votes
She's
too.
fragile.
I would say the one that gets the least amount of votes is a snake that is startled a horse that is in full rear up because this snake has scared it. And
It's an aggressive snake.
And I feel bad for the snake because
We have a lot of aggression in our world today.
I know, it does
Therefore,
not.
we're kind of into fragile moths and sexy cows.
I
and-
know. But that poor snake does not get. But I'm not advocating. I'd really like to see the cow.
I'm not anti-snake, but
Exactly.
I will say, sexy cow, go
Let
vote.
her win. Let her win.
Vote
Yes.
for the sexy cow. I'm going to start a campaign.
So when you're here one of these Thursday nights, wander up, go
Yeah.
vote for your favorite animal in the gallery. But it is back to your perception, right? It's not about do I have the knowledge to understand that painting. It's can I find something that is, quirky and very personalized in that work of art. And maybe it's a little sheep that's got a dazed and confused look on her face. And you realize, I was up there with my, of course, 18-year-old daughter. And I love to pick the ones I think she should pick, which she never picks the ones.
Nobody
I
picks the paintings you want them to pick. They pick the other ones. And when I was pregnant, I went to a museum that had this exhibition of Dutch masters.
Oh, yes.
And
Yum.
there was this angry mother goose protecting the nest of eggs. And I insisted I needed this poster. This poster hung in my dining room for maybe 5 years, 8 years. Everyone in my family hates it. They're like, why do you have the angry attacking mother goose? And I'm like, oh, but then there's this political story about the Netherlands behind it and see how the eggs are labeled. And they're like, what is that story? I'm like, I don't remember, but look at that angry mama goose. That's how I feel most days.
And to be quite honest, that is a valid way to look and think about art. I think folks get so caught up in the Gilded Age. Like, do you need to know the artist's name and all this information
Like,
and
who's
the
the
art
guy who
historical?
did the dots? And made pictures out of dots.
Seurat.
Like there's that
Seurat.
picture in
Yeah.
the park.
Yeah.
I always forget Seurat.
Well, but here's what I love. Once you find that work of art that piques your curiosity, what I will find, and I can tell you a dozen people, is all of a sudden you start going down a rabbit hole and you begin to really get excited about this random artist, and I remember after going to Minneapolis, I come back and I write my senior paper on Warhol because I'd had that experience. And I think just art has this opportunity to capture us at a particular moment in time.
Yep.
And we just can't turn it off afterwards.
I think you learn a lot about others, whether you're going with friends or like I've gone with my husband. My husband is more ADHD than I am. If like you can imagine our household, it's questionable how we function some days. But like I've gone with Mark and like what he chooses is really of interest to me because men don't talk that much about like aesthetic things, or at least my man don't. Lots of men do. And it's fascinating like to have those conversations of like, well, what is it? He's like, it's a picture of rain. And it's just drawn with pencil and ink. He's like, to do that in black and white to me is just fascinating. I'm like, now I'm fascinated.
Because it's like you're if you take an onion, you start to pull those layers off. You're learning as much about him as you are about that work of art, right? We always gravitate to things that have a personal connection.
Yeah.
So it is very telling to
It's-
watch your family. You know,
Yeah, it
choose
is just-
work. You
yeah.
know, no, and I think we realize people they're very connected to the museum in new ways, like that
Yep.
social connection. Creativity is a big one, but the other one is well-being too. So those are two other topics I love to talk about because I think they're going to change the nature of the art
I
museum.
agree. So I was reading somewhere about this wellness and art, and
Yes.
it talked about the dopamine hit you get when you're just viewing art, much less creating art, goes up. And it's not unlike when you listen to a podcast.
I know.
You know
you're
what,
right.
Cindy? When you listen to people talking to you,
Yeah.
like people like me, so I don't know how much the dopamine is, but
I think it's a lot.
it is like you get to understand people and you get to see things. It's
Yeah.
that perception reception, maybe?
Absolutely.
I mean, what have you read and what do
So,
you see and think about this?
fabulous amounts of research coming out of places like Canada and Great Britain, and what they're finding is that we seek to understand. And when we start to make sense, when we're looking at art and we start to make sense of something and we have an aha moment,
Yeah.
the dopamine just goes berserk. And we feel this sense of satisfaction, accomplishment.
Yeah.
It really can be profound.
It's
So
so,
they're measuring it. Yeah.
evolutionary too.
Oh.
If you think about it, like little babies are taught.
Yeah.
This is my anthropologist, but like when we're born, we're taught to identify good things, bad things, attachment.
Yeah.
And so, of course, once you re-identify it, it's going to go bing, bing, bing. Like you have perceived and processed something.
Absolutely. Well, have you ever heard about the wonder cycle?
No.
The wonder cycle starts with wonder, which is like suspended disbelief. So think about a toddler when they see
Yeah.
their shadow and they get startled and they don't know how to process this thing they've
Right.
just seen, right? So what happens is you actually get something called the wonder face. Wonder face, and if you have a toddler in your life, you know what this looks like. Big wide open eyes, big wide open mouth.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to process and
The
take in
deer in headlights
yes,
look
and
that
you're,
toddlers
you're
give you. Yeah.
they're trying to get in as much information as possible to process this thing they're experiencing. Wonder can sometimes just be a couple seconds, but it immediately leads to curiosity. So what happens is you have a wonder moment, and then immediately you're like, I need to understand this. I need more information. I'm insatiable desire to understand something more, which then leads to the third phase of the cycle, which is questioning. You start the rapid fire questioning. What does this mean? Who does this?
what, when?
So it's that cycle that ends up creating what doctors in Canada now feel is almost as important as getting a prescription. In Canada currently, if you go in, you are likely to get a prescription from your doctor to take to the pharmacy and a prescription to go to a local art museum because they want
Really?
you to experience that wonder cycle. And then you have to report back to the doctor on what your experience was about.
Tell me what drugs it's like.
Yeah, I know.